Little water snake. There's a moccasin behind him.
On this channel, we've covered lots of similar species, from coral snakes and milk snakes to common and alligator snapping turtles.
Now, you can already see with them both right next to each other, some crazy differences between these two turtles.
But to me, water snakes and water moccasins are the easiest species to confuse at first glance. And here in South Louisiana, we've got a ton of both. So on this adventure, we'll be getting up close with some of the bitiest, fastest,
Oh, I thought that was a racer, he was so fast.
and wildest water-dwelling snakes around, and showing you which ones are harmless and which ones pack a punch. In my home state, there are 6 water snake species, and of course subspecies under those. My aim today is to find as many of those species as I can alongside our target moccasin. They're all really common in their respective waterways, so it shouldn't take too long to find them. And here's our first one now.
Water snake. Come here, you. He's thin. Have a look at that. This is a banded water snake. Very thin. Look at how skinny he is. Very unhealthy, but actually very pretty on the belly. Look at that. That's a vibrant snake. Let me get this stuff off your face. This is an easy snake to confuse with a water moccasin. Let me tell you, probably one of the easiest to confuse. This is a small one. They get quite a bit bigger than this, probably about 3, maybe 4 feet long. Like I said, a non-venomous snake, and normally they'd be biting like crazy, but I think something's wrong with this one. Either he just had a really rough winter, or he's sick. I'm not sure, but he's super thin, as you can see there. And the main thing you're gonna look at is kind of those little orange colorations on the head. It's got that belly pattern, that checkered belly. I mean, this is a difficult snake to tell apart. I have to double take on snakes like this before jumping at them to make sure it is definitely not a moccasin. There are tips and tricks to be able to tell the difference. The banding looks different. They're typically going to be a thinner snake. In the water, they tend to dive down, whereas moccasins tend to stay up. There's a lot of little tidbits and tricks to telling the difference between this water snake and a moccasin. But it can get very confusing, so I don't want to say anything for guarantee. If you don't know what kind of snake it is, don't go and pick it up. And like I said, these snakes are normally pretty bitey, so if you were to mess with one, it would try to bite you. But this one, very chill because something's not right with him. Poor little guy. Hopefully he bounces back quick. We're gonna go ahead and let him go and keep looking for more really cool water snakes. All right, see you, little dude. Watch what he does. He's probably gonna dive down. Come on. Go. Go. Yellow. See?
You can see how drab their colors can be, just like a moccasin, which is why they can be so easily mixed up. Both water snakes and moccasins can be also found in upland habitats, like pine forests. You'd think without water, they'd have a rough time escaping predators, but you would be wrong.
Big one. Wait, is that a bracer or what? What you got? Got it. Hold on. Oh, big yellow belly. Oh, I thought that was a racer, he was so fast. Whoa! Stop it, stop it. Oh. Oh. Stop it. That's a fat one. Why are you so fast? Whew. I knew it wasn't a moccasin just because of how fast it was moving, but I didn't even know it was a yellow belly until I got a hand on it. Oh, look at that snake. Big yellow belly water snake. Wowzer, he is quick. I don't know what he's doing in this. This is a longleaf. I guess there is water all around. Fast snake. This is about as big as they come. It's actually called a plain belly water snake just because they have a plain belly and they can have red bellies out east of here. Holy smokes. That's a nice snake. You can see he's flattening his head out. He tried to strike me a good few times there. Really, really awesome animal. You can see he's puffing up his body to look bigger. And he's shaping his head out nice and wide. Their head is actually very narrow. If I can relax him a little bit here. That is the opposite of relaxed. Come on, relax. That's how they'd normally be looking. See how he puffs it out when that's just him pressing his cheeks out to look bigger. But see, this is the actual width of their head, which looks more like your typical snake. Nasty, nasty. He's musking on me. Well, we're gonna go ahead and put this snake back and keep looking for our main target, but that is really cool. Big, dark colored, yellow belly water snake. All right, see bud, he should take off quick. That's a big water snake. Wow. Well, he is gone. That is the fastest water snake I've ever seen. I thought that was a racer.
We didn't see too many snakes during the daytime here, but come nighttime, these snakes will be out in full force.
So nighttime is a pretty good time to find water snakes and cottonmouths. They are nocturnal during the summer months. And they're mostly going to be out eating frogs, little fish along the banks. So we should see a good few species here. Now in this area in particular, there's Diamondback water snakes, Midlands, potentially Northerns. There's a good few here, and there's also cottonmouths. So we're going to see if we can get any. Oh, there he is. Got it. What is that? Midland. Oh, it's a Midland water snake. I just saw the very edge of his body right there. Oh, he was trying to bite me. Have a look at that. Have a look at that snake. That is a little Midland water snake. Looks a lot like a northern water snake, but they're a lot more red. This is what you're going to be getting in this region, mostly Midlands and Diamondbacks. Really handsome looking snake, probably one of my favorite looking snakes out here. Ah, he's musking on me. Woo, and he's trying to bite me. They are a non-venomous species, but they do look a lot like a moccasin. Now these snakes don't actually get as big as their northern counterparts. This is actually an average sized adult. And as you can see, anywhere I put my hand, he's gonna try to strike. Ow. He missed, but he got my other hand there. Very, very ill-tempered snake, maybe even more so than other water snakes, but actually one of my favorite looking snakes. They're very pretty. They've got that red coloration. Well, that is another awesome water snake species. Actually, one of my favorites. So we're gonna go ahead and let this one go and keep looking for more, but that is very cool. All right, see you, bud. Watch him take off.
These snakes are on the hunt for frogs and fish, so obviously we'll see a good few of those.
That's a pickle frog. I've never caught one of these before. Got it. No. Now I got it. Have a look at that. That's my first pickle frog. This is a really cool frog species. Check out those legs. Half yellow, really cool. 100% my first pickle frog. They kind of look like a leopard frog. There's a couple ways you can tell it's not. They've got those streaks down the back, and obviously they've got half of their belly is yellow, which is really cool. Now this is something that both cottonmouths and water snakes would be preying upon, just like all the other frog species out here. This isn't like anything overly crazy. It doesn't have any kind of supernatural defense. It doesn't have any like super abilities. It's just a really cool looking frog. So we're gonna go ahead and let this little guy go and keep looking for more. That is awesome. Little pickle frog. All right, see you, little buddy. Back in the water. Here we go. Yoink.
They're all firm.
Ow.
Nice.
Yikes. Whoa, whoa. Stop it. Ow! Come on, bud. Stop. Well, that is a Diamondback water snake. Let me turn my light off for you guys while I'm getting bit. That's a Diamondback water snake. I was sitting here talking and I looked to our left and there's another one. Hold up. We're gonna double up. And he did not move at all. Woohoo! He is a bump bigger. Oh, and he'll bite too. Well, guys, I don't plan on holding these for too long, but that is two medium-sized Diamondback water snakes. And this one's grumpy too. They're both grumpy. This one's chilled out because I've been holding it for so long. But this one's fresh grumpy. Well, that right there, ow! And I don't know what I expected of a water snake documentary. I was just gonna get bit 30 times. That's just how that goes. But this is a very cool species. We're gonna go ahead and put both of them back and keep looking for more. But that is very cool. All right, see you guys. That's where they were, so that's where they'll go. What do you do? Go. Jeez, they shredded me. Gotta wash that off. It'll buff right out. Let's go catch some more snake.
Wow, what a grumpy pair of snakes. Diamondbacks can be pretty unpleasant, and they certainly are when handled. However, when left alone, they do their best to get out of your way. Watch this. While walking, I caught a small fish and decided to show you exactly how these snakes hunt and grab their prey. They swim along silently. Then, the second they feel movement, whack! They grab the fish and swallow it whole. An impressive hunting strategy, although it's gotta be hard to catch fish in the water. This is what these snakes are after, not people. I cannot believe we haven't seen a moccasin yet. Normally, they're the snake that I don't even have to look for. To make sure that we get one today, I'm heading to the cypress swamps, where we can hopefully find our target viper and an additional water snake species.
Alright guys, so this is going to be our last day of looking for snakes. This should be the day we find stuff. It's pretty sunny, it's pretty warm, and we should be able to get our moccasin today, and a green water snake. That's the other one that we're missing for this full, complete water snake video. And we're in a cypress swamp. This is really good habitat for these snakes, and they're typically very easy to find. I don't know what the issue has been with finding a moccasin. They're normally very easy to find, but hopefully in here I will find a decent sized moccasin or a decent sized water snake. So let's get to it. There's this little water snake. If I dive for him, I know I can do it. Normally you want to come from in front of the snake, but there was all these cypress knees here, so I couldn't really do that. But that was a big Mississippi green. They're pretty common, so we should see more. It's a water snake. It's another green. It's a smaller one. Oh, there's a moccasin behind him. Look. Green, and the moccasin's already mad at me. Hey bud, what are you doing? Oh, you're in some slop here. Oh, that just sinks, doesn't it? That's not good. I think it sticks. I do not have a snake. That should do. What? Pretty similar sized snakes too. I could tell that this was a water snake and that was a moccasin. One, just because of the patterning. That's just how baby moccasins look. But secondly, that's just a much thicker snake. And he's got that big wide head. Oh, don't both of y'all try to bite me right now. Notice how the moccasin is less likely to try to take off. He's more likely to sit and do that. Stand his ground. This is why moccasins get stepped on so much. They just don't move out the way. Have a look at that. Well, this is something that a lot of you guys have requested. Is a side-by-side view of a moccasin and a water snake. Now both of these snakes are very similar size, and in fact this is most likely the size of a snake that you're going to run into. Is going to be a more medium-sized one. Cottonmouths do grow to be a very large viper. However, you're typically going to see them probably around a foot and a half in length. That's kind of the average size adult. This one's under a foot long. This would be considered a juvenile, but they do get pretty big, and I've seen them pretty big. Now as you can see, this little water snake tagged me. And I'm not very concerned with it. These snakes, both of these snakes are very bitey. Water snakes, they don't have fangs and they don't have venom, so I'm not concerned with that at all. As you can see, the cottonmouth is very heavy bodied and he's not sitting still. He's biting the stick. He's being pretty agitated. Now one way you can tell in our videos that a snake is not a moccasin is if I'm holding it. You're actually never gonna see me hold a moccasin. They are just a wiry little snake and they have venom. Now you can see cottonmouths aren't going to always be that solid black coloration that a lot of people would think that they have. They do have some patterning to them. You can see this is a younger one, and they will have a very cool blotch pattern. Oh, look at that. Perfect. That's what I want to see. Now side by side next to each other, you can also see there, cottonmouths have a much more triangular shaped head. A lot of people say it's bulkier. It's not too much bulkier, it's just more triangle shaped, whereas the water snakes are going to be more well-rounded. Now, if I'm being honest, there isn't any one telltale sign to say, oh, if you watch for this, it's definitely a moccasin, because moccasins and water snakes are such variable species. If I say they're a certain width, there are also fat water snakes and skinny moccasins. They have a very straight banding, but there are also water snakes with very similar banding, as well as that darker coloration when they get older. So really, the best way to learn how to tell the difference between these two snakes is this. Seeing them right next to each other. You can see when they're next to each other that more rounded look of the water snake and that more short, stocky build of a cottonmouth. Now there are a couple of features of the cottonmouth that are distinct to them. For one, water snakes aren't going to have those vertical pupils. That's something that is very typical of viper species to have, whereas water snakes have rounded pupils. The other thing are those pits. Cottonmouths do have heat-seeking pits, just like other vipers. So I would never want to put a hand anywhere near this snake. Far too dangerous. They have venom very similar to some rattlesnake species. Not as potent as the most potent rattlesnakes, but definitely venom that should put you in the hospital and can kill you. Well guys, this was actually our second most requested video that we have ever done. The first is actually Red Widow Spider. So if you guys are looking forward to seeing that video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, especially the older one, Cottonmouth versus Copperhead, where we show a comparison of those two snakes side by side as well. That's all for now, and we will see you guys next time. All right, I'm gonna let this little dude crawl away. I'm gonna put this guy back by his tree.